Hey guys, what's up? Come at you here with a short report. Hopefully we'll make this pretty quick. Stuff's pretty quiet right now. So yeah, let's just jump into it for those that just here for that. We're going to start here with the Schumann like we always do. And as you can see, we had some pretty significant spiking going on here. Lots of different hertz levels, lots of different frequencies ringing out here, okay guys? This is definitely, in my opinion, something we need to keep an eye on. If you guys have been experiencing ringing in your ears, especially back here during this stuff, you know, this could be it. Also, something I noticed, let me zoom in on this, okay? I actually typed this in the chat over at Emergency Management Associates, Ron Tyler's channel. He reports on volcanoes and earthquake activity, seismic stuff, plus preparedness stuff that he talks about. I encourage all you guys to go over there and please subscribe up to his channel. It's Emergency Management Associates. I will leave a link in the description, and you guys should go over and check him out. You know, they know how to read seismos over there, seismographs, and they'll see stuff that isn't necessarily being reported on mainstream agency sites, okay? They have a different take on some things, but they know how to read the seismographs. Terry is over there too. You guys might know him. He's on Ron's show quite a bit. Both of them great guys. Please go check them out. Anyway, this line right here, guys. I seen it starting the other day, and I always kind of back off when I see things and to see if it continues. And what I've noticed is first off, it is continuing. And it's right around the 20 hertz line. I mean, it's almost right on it. But anyway, you can see it kind of going here, right? Now, we see the horizontal lines quite a bit sometimes. I'm not going to go into what those actually are, what they're representing, and all that kind of thing. It takes just such a long description, guys. Go over to Verte Alberto's channel. Alberto's. I always mispronounce his last name. Sorry, Verte. But go check his channel out if you want to know about the Schumann. He definitely goes in depth. He does live streams. You guys can pause and rewind and stuff if you really want to know what's going on and what this is actually showing you. This tool is showing you. He knows how to interpret this tool. Okay, so just know that. Now, guys, this 20 hertz line. It seemed like it started pretty thin back here, and it seems it's gotten like a little bit more intense as we went on in time, and it's not going away. I've talked about this before. We started seeing dashed lines like this right here, and I spoke about this before, right? But this is a solid line that's staying there right here at 20 hertz. And I've not seen this before, not at this hertz level. We know that the 7.83 hertz level is almost always there. It is always there, okay? But this is something that's kind of new. And so I don't know what's exactly going on. We were talking about magma that's flowing underneath the earth and stuff like that over at Ron's channel, and that was one of my questions I had. Could that actually cause this VLF, very low frequency stuff, right? And I guess it can. But I don't know exactly if that's exactly what's causing this, because this is again, this isn't something that's always there, and it is now. So we'll just have to watch it, okay? Does it mean anything catastrophic? Absolutely not. It's just pointing us to certain things that we can look at, that things are changing, okay? So that's the main thing I get from this. Space weather in general. Actually, if we just start up here. No, we're not gonna have any. We don't have any like solar flares and stuff as of late. All right, that's why the X-ray level is still hanging out real low. This is something we've seen probably back in October into November of last year, before the sun started becoming more active. Now, this is pretty normal for early on in the sun cycle, guys. Okay, remember that we're just into the second year of the sun cycle. Really kind of at the end of the first, into this, I don't know, I forget what the exact date was that they moved us into the new sun cycle. Well, I guess we could kind of look right here. But this was like, we started moving in like 2000, 2020 to 2021 here, 2019 to 2020, this was the last, 2019 was the last year, full year of the other sun cycle. Because we bumped up in activity here. Well, we bumped up in the number of days sunspots were facing the Earth by 20%. So that tells us, that and the polarity of the sunspots themselves tell us what sun cycle we're in. So that happened about there, right? So we're about a year, maybe a little bit more into the sun cycle itself. I need to go look and see what the official date is. Does it really matter? Probably not. But at the same time, just listen. This is something we can expect. It's going to get, the sun's going to get active. It's going to kind of bump back down, kind of low for a while, and it'll bump back up to real active. And as we go more and more towards solar maximum in this sun cycle, that activity will stay more and more consistent and become more and more intense. Okay? Now, the solar proton flux. We don't typically even talk about this because this hasn't happened in quite some time. We've seen it happen a few weeks back, about a little over a month ago. We had a couple big flares, if you guys remember, that got into M class, and there was a subsequent radiation storm that was accompanied with that behind the flare. Okay, there was a lag. There was a lag time between the flare and when the big radiation, the proton flux itself, actually impacted Earth. Now, this is more so for people that fly. Those of us on the surface don't really experience much of this. Our atmosphere kind of helps us out there. Now, we know we're 25% weaker geomagnetically. We know our magnetic shields are that much weaker. So this is going to affect us more and more as time goes by. But as of right now, for astronauts, satellites, and all that kind of thing, people that fly, these people are really, they watch this. Okay? I'm not saying that radiation can't get to the surface, because it absolutely does. But we really don't have to really too much worry about that unless it's up here at like an S4 storm, S3 maybe. But I haven't even seen it get that high in a long, long time. So anyway, geomagnetic activity, extremely low. Really, really low solar wind conditions. Space weather conditions overall are quiet. Nothing really happening right now except for right this second. You see this little jump here. I'm going to be interested to see what the next one is, because I'm not so sure that this was kind of expected. So I looked at their predictions here on NOAA. And as we look, if you look right here at noon, on the 11th, it's got us going to a 3 on the KP. So this was they seen something here, and this model was actually correct. It's only up to a 2 right now, but the next one is the one they're saying is going to get up to a 3. So what's happening is we're getting impacted by a solar wind stream. Okay, and this is evidence of that. Today is the 11th, by the way, and we were talking about maybe one of those CMEs might be kind of giving us a glancing blow. I guess that could possibly be happening here. I'm not saying that it is, because I can't say for sure. But regardless, we're having an uptick in space weather. So let me refresh that and see if we got anything new. Okay, and we may. But the thing here, guys, is now this is where I'm telling you right now that this is going to impact us a little bit harder than what people think it's going to, and what I've heard from other people so far about this today. And why I'm saying that is because if you look at the BZ, you've heard me talk about the BZ. That is the angle of which things hit us, right? That's the angle of the solar wind, basically. We remember the range over here. We always got to look at the range. Yesterday, the range was only going down to -6. Now they got it at -20. Why? Well, because they're getting readings that low. That's why. So that's telling you right there that we're primed at the right angle for things to come into our system easy. So what I'm saying here is that with all this stuff reacting at the same time, density, speed, temperature, the phi angle itself is even, jacking around a little bit. That's the polarity of the solar wind itself. This is the angle of that solar wind. So we don't worry about the VZ unless it gets below like a -6. Well, it's hanging out really, really low. So that angle is telling me that, you know, anything that we're getting over here is going to be able to make it in pretty easy. So I look for the next kind of updates for our solar wind or our geomagnetism right here to bump up a little bit more. I don't want to say we're going to get into storm level because obviously I can't say that because I don't know. But judging by just this one particular data point, that is saying that it's possible that we could get to, you know, to a 3 or 4 geomagnetically, which is here. Now it still wouldn't be a G1 storm. Now we've seen these things put us into storm level before, but you know, unexpectedly. So I'm not saying it can't happen because it most certainly can. But here's your first look at the sun, and we got, you know, patchy coronal holes here right in front of us. You know, you got the equator of the sun. The Earth is kind of hanging out here. So we're connected to these. The stuff that we're getting from these little patchy ones will be here in the next 3 to 4 days. Okay? Now we've got a filament here too. See this? That's a pretty large one. Now the last 2 or 3 CMEs we had were filament releases from over here. And I'll show them to you guys here in just a second. But this is definitely going up into this, right? So that is a filament, and we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. The Enlil model. This is NOAA's model of what they think is going to happen, and we're right here in time, so we're definitely getting this increase. And you see how we got these little waves of things that it's showing us getting? It's almost like they put back in some of that filament release, like maybe it was off and it actually did come at us a little bit more. I don't know. We're gonna go take a look at that here in a second, but just know that this has changed. Plus, we've got another little hump down here, so we've got other activity coming. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. This right here is confirming everything I just said. This is Aurora. These things don't uptick unless we're getting geomagnetic activity. This is a pretty substantial uptick. Okay, Spaceweather even .com even touched on it right here. You know, they were talking about on the 10th, because we were supposed to cross over the solar boundary, the magnetic boundary there. And I'm not sure if we actually ever did that. I would imagine that we probably did. Or that could be what's going on right now. Maybe that's what we're doing now. Maybe we're crossing that line. I don't know. But these auroras did happen. And why did these happen? Because we got charged particles interacting with oxygen molecules in our atmosphere. That's what causes these. Okay? So that's what's happening. And this doesn't happen unless you're getting those charged particles in. That's what causes it. So this is a very legitimate thing to look at to say, hey, yes, we're getting geomagnetism right now. We're getting some energy. Because this is what it looks like currently. Alright, now we can run this model and we can look at it and see what happened in the past up till that point. And what I like to do is, and I'll do it once this thing loads here real quick, I will pause it, grab it, take it to the most recent capture, and then we'll take it backwards. Okay? So, you know, you can see how it activity kind of slowed down. Got a little bump there. Okay, now that was like, what time is that? That is at the 10th at 13:25. Yesterday around noon UTC. So this is going to give us 24 hours. So right now, we go from hardly any activity to this. See that? And see how it's still growing? So that's telling me that this data is correct. Because all this stuff points to more geomagnetism. Alright, so we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. But, you know, that is what it is. Now this is the Magnetopause models. Actually, I'm going to X off of that. So I'll play these, and this is solar wind speed. Let me get it back here to the beginning. Alright, now you're going to see kind of like waves coming in. It's going to start getting a little active. See what it's doing there? Now this only gives us like a 2-hour thing here. Alright, we can't go back and look at historic data on this model. This is by no means no sort of like complete smack across the face, okay? But the density is what we're going to look at here, because I do think that this is going to show us more of what's going on. Actually, I'm just going to pause it and grab this. So you can see it. Definitely, you know, when it goes blue like that, you see that? Usually the solar wind speed has came down and the density has built up. And when it goes back to white is when we see the wind speed go back up. But what's different right now is that they're both going up at the same time. And that does happen. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing an uptick in geomagnetism. Alright, so just know that that's happening. And the pressure one here will probably reflect that. So let me grab this. And that, you know, that is a little bit uptick of pressure than what we seen yesterday. Now see, look, see what happens? We get that hit, and look what happens around our planet. That's significant pressure, okay? It's not like way off the charts or nothing, but that's significant enough to pay attention to, because we need to know if this is hanging around right now to see what's going to happen in, you know, in the future here. It's the other Magnetopause models. I'm just going to push play. We're going to take a look at these. We're just going to let them play. And actually, I'm going to pause this one. So as we move forward here, you're seeing, again, the sun's off to the right. And you're definitely seeing our bow shock get compressed. Look at this. Okay? So none of this was expected. Nobody was talking about this, probably except for me. Now I didn't hear anybody else speaking about this whatsoever. And I was trying to tell people, hey, we might get a glancing blow from that CME. And you guys could go back and watch my videos on that if you want. But, you know, to me it doesn't matter if that it was me. I just want you guys to know that sometimes things happen when we don't think that they're going to. And significant things can happen. You know, I don't care if we chalk it up as a stealth solar storm. A stealth solar storm is nothing more than a solar storm that nobody's seen. And it just hit us. Okay, it does happen. That's why they have a term for it. So just know that. And right now, you know, I know if we look at like right here, right about, see all this activity? Okay, notice how we're getting bent up, compressed on the tops and bottoms. See how that even angled out a little bit? You know, all that's kind of directional stuff. But if you look at that and you compare it to that, this doesn't look as intense, does it? Well, it actually is. Because what's happening is we're getting some significant wind this way, and it's compressed us back. It's pushing on us really hard. Not so hard that it's going to be nuts or anything, but it's harder than what we would expect to see during regular conditions. You know, and you see it, you know, because we get compressed, and then, you know, after this time frame is elapsed, we'll probably get rapid expansion. And it'll go way back out here, and then it'll kind of settle back in. But notice these over here, and I had them playing for a reason, because these over here are confirming all what I just said. This was not what everybody was planning on looking at today. And again, you know, if people don't want to take this particular model all that serious, whatever. But just know that at the very least, we can look at these and tell you that it doesn't look like it used to. So at the very least, we can say, hey, something is happening, whether it is what we're saying it is. But, you know, when we get hit in the front here, like what happens, now watch, at the top. And see how it just kind of blows way out? Well, that sticks around. I mean, like for a considerable amount of time. So we kind of go back to normal, and then we start getting these little waves again. See those? So those are that's definitely an uptick in geomagnetism. Now I know people see that, and they start getting all crazy about it. It definitely is a blowout of our magnetism, okay? It's because we got hit in the front. That is not something that's not expected when we get solar wind impacts, okay? We expect to see some of that. When these things happen and there is no, you know, thing that happens out in front first, that's when these things start being like, what are we looking at? You know? So that's what I'm saying here. So as you can tell, that is a rat nest mess of magnetism lines. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail on what those are. Most people that are probably watching this video already know. So I'm not going to waste everybody's time on that. But I did want to show that to you so you guys can see that, yes, we're getting space weather right now, and it was not expected. It just wasn't. So I don't know how else to say that or put that, but that's exactly what's going on. Australian model. Okay, again, wind speed, density, BZ. Okay, you see it's bouncing around there? See how it's compressing us? That's exactly what we'd expect to see. Now we'll watch it on the 10th and see what it does here. And you're going to see that the density is going to start going up. Wind speed is going to go up. The BZ is going to go way into the negative. Alright, that's just what it's doing. We can see it happening right here in front of us. And that's why I like this Australian model. Shout out to my Aussies out there. Hang tough down there. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. You know what I'm saying, guys? But anyway, there you go with that. Geoelectric field model. This is space weather's effect on our geomagnetism. I'm sorry. It is space weather's effect on our electrical grid. Artificial electrical components, such as transformers, electrical wires, anything electrical that wasn't naturally made. Okay, so we're seeing a little bit of action here too. Okay, whenever it gets away from that dark blue color, that means it is experiencing something. Something I've noticed for quite some time, and I'm starting to wonder what's causing it, is this right here. Let me find it. Right there. Okay, now you guys have heard me talk about this before. Why do we see an uptick right here more so than what we see in other places? I'm starting to wonder if our magnetic field is weaker there. Okay, because it is weaker in certain areas around the planet, and it does, new weak spots, cracks happen in it. Okay, it's not a perfectly enclosed magnetic field system, guys. Okay, things get through, and this is closer to the equator than what we would expect to see this kind of activity, because stuff comes in easier on the poles. That's why we see aurora at the poles more often. If we start seeing aurora down this far, this is not aurora, okay? But if we start seeing aurora down this far, we're talking G5 level storms, okay? It's only happened a few times. And, obviously everybody goes to the Carrington event. I know that's a fallback for people, but there's other events that's happened too. Was it 1989, I think? The Canadian outage and our upper northwest. Okay, notice that happened again down there. See that? So I'm wondering if we're not weaker there, because you're talking like an hour or two difference here, and so that would mean that the Earth had rotated. Okay, so if we were still getting impacted, why are we only seeing it here? In theory, it should have kind of moved over to here. You see what I'm getting at, guys? So I do think that at some level, I bet our magnetic field might be a little weaker here. I don't know where to go to look at that, or if we can even do that. I don't know. But that's just what I see. Okay. Here's seeds. There are no data for the 11th. What this is LASCO C2. It sits out right in front of our planet on the SOHO Observatory. The SOHO Observatory is a satellite right out in front of our planet, and it orbits with the Earth around the sun, always looking at the sun. It's just about 1 million miles closer to the sun than what we are. It's kind of in a position that if we get like bad solar wind coming, this will kind of give us an hour or so, I think, of warning, if I remember right on the time there. But we can look at the 10th, and we're not going to waste too much time on this because nothing happened. There was a little bit of something there, but nothing really happened there, guys. Okay, so I'm not going to waste your time on that. You guys can go check that out if you want on your own. But here's the 11th, stereo A. Stereo A is over here. Earth would be here. It's our side view. As you can tell, nothing is really coming from the sun right now. It's really, really quiet on the sun. This is the CME tracker I was talking about, remember? These are the two filament releases. They both show up here. So let me tell you what I'm talking about, a glancing blow. Because this actually could be what we're seeing, because if you watch the date here, right when that little wake part gets here, it's kind of at that same time frame. So this could be what's happening. This especially this little one does kind of look, this is a top-down view, this is a side view. The one over here on the right is Earth's orbit in a straight line. So we can kind of see the distortion, that's Earth. See how close that comes if it doesn't just graze us? So we could be getting a grazing from that. And again, I said, even when I was talking about this, if we just got a glancing blow, it wouldn't really hit us that hard. And we're not really seeing that big, large, hard hit. Okay, it's just kind of a, you know, a soft little nudge, I guess, if you want to say it that way. So, let's, spaceweather.com. Again, the Aurora's already showed that to you guys. It says January 10th, they were predicting that we would see these because we were supposed to cross that solar boundary where the magnetism reverses polarity. And, you know, if we cross that boundary, it definitely could have done that. Okay? Now, that's just a pretty cool looking sun halo. I'm not going to go into detail on what causes those things. There's so much contention on that anyway. A lot of disagreement on what's actually happening there. But they showed you this one because it looks like a dream catcher. And it does. It's pretty cool looking in my opinion. I'm not saying that it is a dream catcher. I'm just saying it looks like one. Fireballs, 8 of them. Not too many. Not going to waste time talking about that. Near Earth objects. As you can see here, we're at the 11th. We expect to see 2 or 3 of them today, but they're 19.5 lunar distance away. That if you go to the moon from Earth and you times that by 19.5, that's how far away these things are. Okay, so it's a good distance away. I know they call them near Earth objects. The reason they do is because they take in consideration the vastness of space. When things get that close to objects in space, yeah, it would be considered near if you're in an overall picture. Noctilucent clouds. This is on the South Pole. This is the vapor, the water vapor that gets into the highest parts of our atmosphere and freezes around meteor dust. That's what they tell us this is. These clouds are actually blue. Okay, they're bluish metallic looking clouds. And they kind of have a sheen. So that's what you're seeing here. These things, this is probably pretty normal for what we'd expect. They happen in each hemisphere's summer. So in 6 months from now, it'll be happening on the North Pole. But these things were 2 weeks late, and that's a discussion everybody could have too. I'm not going to have that right now, but that definitely points to an overall temperature change. Okay, that was not expected. Earthquakes. Oh wow, look. That's a 5.4 just happened now here in the middle of the Atlantic. So yeah, guys, there's stuff happening all over. There's a 5.5, a 5.3, a 5.4, 5.2, a 5.6. Up here in the Aleutians, it's a 5 something. That's a 5.1. Then we got one over here in Turkey. We got one, this is probably Croatia. Yep. Croatia's still kind of rumbling, guys, from the big one a couple weeks ago. And that's in Afghanistan. A couple around Japan, that kind of thing. But this is definitely an uptick in earthquakes as far as the amount of higher ones that we see. We've seen a lot of 6s this past week, and that was not really all that expected. So, but anyway, this is the overall activity of what we're being told is happening. I turned on all magnetisms, or not magnetism, all magnitudes. So, honestly, looking at this, it doesn't look like we're having a whole lot. It looks like activity's kind of slowed, and that's not really all the best thing for us. If we had a perfect world, we would have a lot of activity at really low magnitudes. That would be perfect for everybody, because that means that the pressure is constantly releasing, and you know, we need that pressure release. So when we don't have activity, all that stuff's building up, and eventually you'll have volcanic eruptions, you'll have bigger earthquakes, all that stuff that we talk about, seismic activity. Now this one here is down here in Georgia, I think. Yep, Tunnel Hill, Georgia. That's real close to like Lookout Point. There's like Ruby Falls and stuff are down there. You can look at like 3 or 4 different states from one point, I think. Can't remember exactly where it's at, but it's probably kind of like right here at this point or something. I don't know, or maybe over here. Not really sure, but notice that that's kind of out of place. That's all I'm saying. Not a big one. You know, they do happen out of place sometimes, but also I think there's underreporting going on too. There was a couple of them down here in Texas that Ron was showing last night. Now, I'm not sure if the time had elapsed for a 24-hour uptick or if they actually just took them off altogether. I don't know. But Ron was talking about that, and it definitely would be a significant thing to look at. So anyway, guys. Also, just to touch on something here, I'll take you back over here to the Schumann. Remember this. I think we need to keep an eye on this. We're having these too. I mean, this stuff is, you know, stuff's happening. So, anyway, just look around you. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail or talk about anything political right now. But just know, guys, that things are changing. And they're changing in a drastic way. And frankly, I just don't even know anymore. You know, I guess at some level they've confused us all enough that we're having to sift through so much whatever is actually the truth, that's at some level it becomes almost impossible to find it. And for me right now, I know it sounds really bad, but I'm just stepping back from trying to figure out exactly what's going on. I'm going to have to reevaluate what I think and what I'm believing and what I'm seeing. And I think everybody else should continuously do that, given new information. So, you know, obviously, guys, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to start dropping words here because my video won't go nowhere. You know, I don't care about the monetization because I don't monetize. So, you know, it's not about that. It's just I want people to see my video. That's all. And by the way, yes, I need to give some thanks out to some people here too. Tom, yes, I got your PayPal. Thank you, buddy. Susan, there's a couple other people here too. I need to give a shout out to. I got a list. Sorry. Tabitha. Thank you. Much appreciated. Let me, yeah, okay. There it is. Sorry. David. Also. Matt T. David again. J.R. You guys know who you are. What's that say? Oh, Christine. Thank you. Okay, guys. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I'll try to get your names back out there. I know some people don't like for me to put their names out there, so that's why I don't. Okay? There's a few that donated to me through my PayPal link that they asked me not to say their name, so I'm not doing that. But just know, you guys know who you are, and thank you so much because it does help. So, guys, if you guys want to support me, you can support me in my PayPal. The link's below. I do appreciate it. It's never expected, but it's always appreciated, okay? I can tell you that. You guys have really taken a big stress level off of me, personally, that I haven't had in the past because I pushed so hard against it. But anyway, my PayPal link's in the description. If you want to help, cool. If not, no offense, nothing. So please don't feel obligated. But anyway, guys, keep your head on a swivel, all right? God bless. Yahusha saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.